There's only one question to resolve. I'm scared. I feel a little crazy. I'm not lucid. The assumptions are right. I can feel my fear growing. Now is the time for the answer. Just one question. One question to answer.
If you've ever been lost in the maze of nostalgia and oblivion in Charlie Kaufman's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and Human Nature, it wouldn't be too surprising to be exposed to his latest film. For more than 2 decades, Kaufman has remained true to his style and identity, constantly challenging fans' expectations and speculations. Films written by Kaufman often exhibit a genuine connection between people and people, like a spiritual sublimation. But few names are as curious as I'm Thinking of Ending Things. The film is adapted based on the psychological and horror novel of the same name, published in 2016 by Canadian writer Ian Reid. The book was impressed with its ability to build an extremely skillful climax. Kaufman has taken many liberties with the text, even as the basics of the story remain unchanged. As the title, I'm Thinking of Ending Things implies, Lucy, the main character, has already considered dropping the character Jake. The question is, what ends? Is it her relationship with Jake, or her way of seeing the world? Responsibility, boredom, loneliness, or is there something creepier hidden inside? That question haunted both Lucy and Jake. I'm Thinking of Ending Things revolves around Lucy and Jake. Jake, played by Jesse Plemons, takes new girlfriend Lucy, played by Jessie Buckley, on a snowy drive to meet his parents, played by Toni Collette and David Thewlis. The girl constantly thinks about ending this relationship. However, despite hesitation, Lucy still agreed to go with Jake to meet his parents. Jake's house is a remote farm located in the countryside. On the way, must pass through heavy snow. The house had animals, but was lifeless, with the carcasses of sheep frozen in front of the barn and pigs swarmed with maggots to death. The most mysterious are Jake's parents. They are friendly and likable, but their attitudes are odd, appearing in the blink of an eye. More amazingly, in just one evening, their appearance continuously changed like movie footage, from young to old and back again. Rooms and furniture in the house are full of mysteries. They don't feel like real people, but instead are like vague outlines of characters in a story the narrator can't remember. The way her identity and profession change constantly. Phenomenal things appear and disappear suddenly, such as the dog Jimmy. The young couple weren't surprised, as if they'd known ahead. Parallel to the story of 2 characters, Lucy and Jake, the janitor appeared alternately. On their way back to town during a snowstorm, the couple stopped by the high school Jake attended. Finally, the couple and the old janitor met, leading to a surreal climax that makes everyone burst into tears. After watching the whole movie, many of you must still feel confused, especially about Jake's girlfriend, who goes by many names like Yvonne, Lucy, Lucia. At times, she described herself as a painter, poet, or physicist. Her outfit and hairstyle also changed continuously after each scene. The narrator in the film is the girlfriend, but in fact, everything is in Jake's imagination. Jake met his girlfriend for the first time at the club. the fact that both of them had never spoken to each other. So, they weren't dating. He didn't bring his girlfriend home, was all Jake's deduction. The question, I'm thinking of ending things, also from himself, a vision of an extremely complicated relationship. That explains why Jake could hear his girlfriend's thoughts more or less, as well as the photo she saw in her boyfriend's house. As for the old high school's cleaning man, it's also Jake. If you pay closer attention, when the girlfriend went down to the basement to open the washing machine, she saw the shirts were very similar to the old man's work uniform. At the end of the film, the girlfriend expressed to the old man her frustrations about her boyfriend, that she did not want to have anything to do with him anymore. So, after hearing those bitter words, old Jake knew the final decision that he should stop dreaming. After that, Jake's egos are torn between each other. The old Jake stabbed the young Jake to death. He went back to the car, stripped off his clothes, and, according to himself, probably froze to death, sitting there for so long. At this point, the question, I'm thinking of ending things, may not be the end of love with his girlfriend, but the end of life. He wanted to die for a long time. With the expectation that life would have a happy ending, Jake also imagined him standing on the stage receiving the award. Later, Jake performed the song, Lonely Room, a scene from the play Oklahoma, with applause.
And I sit by myself like a cobweb on a shelf, by myself in a lonely room.
In reality, Jake wraps up a cold, snowy night cleaning the school. He returns to his car and suffers a mental breakdown. He relives moments from his life, memories of his parents, and various animation from when he was a child. He imagines following one of the animated sequences he sees back into the high school, but the final shot of the movie sees Jake's car completely covered in snow. This means he never made it out of his car and likely froze to death in the cold night. A sad and tragic ending to the story of a man facing the failure of his life by leaving his body. Perhaps those who experience the film for the first time will feel confused with many confusing details. Here are some explanations from the director. His answer will help you understand more about the movie. Number 1. Lucy's the main character, and she also doesn't exist? Well, yes and no. The most sophisticated gamble of the movie is that Kaufman has taken this device and turned it into an open question. Can a fantasy exist on its own terms? She is a device, but I wanted her to be able to separate herself from that, Kaufman said. I didn't want it to be a twist. I felt like that would not work in a movie at this point in history. When you make a movie, everything that's sort of ambiguous becomes concrete. You've got people playing these things. You can see them. Needless to say, Buckley turns in a rich, haunting performance as a woman grappling with the uncertainty surrounding her. To my mind, it would have been a misuse of any actress not to give them something to play that was real. But that still doesn't mean she's a real person. She has a definite representative power as Jake comes to terms with the impossibility of his delusion. At one point, he asks Lucy if she's read Anna Kavan's 1967 novel, Ice, which takes place in a post-apocalyptic wasteland not unlike the dreary outdoors that surround the movie's two big car rides. The protagonist of Ice spends most of the book pursuing an unnamed woman while wrestling with the complicated nature of his attraction. In I'm Thinking of Ending Things, the character endures the same struggle when the fantasy fights back. It's a storytelling gamble unique to the art of cinema. Within the world of I'm Thinking of Ending Things, one controlled by Kaufman as well as his protagonist, Lucy, can exist. Number 2. Quote from Pauline Kael's review of Woman Under the Influence. While at Jake's house, Lucy walks into his bedroom as a baby. The room was filled with movies, books, and other things. The standout book in the room was, for keeps, 30 Years at the Movies, 1996, an anthology of reviews by New Yorker critic Pauline Kael. While walking on the street, Lucy and Jake had a long discussion. Their conversation quotes and opinions from a variety of articles, from Guy Debord's Society as Spectacle to Goethe's Theory of Color, and a David Foster Wallace essay from A Supposedly Fun Thing I'll Never Do Again. All of these bits and pieces add to the idea of Jake's obsession, but none of the discussions are more lengthy than Pauline Kael's 1974 critique of Cassavetes' Woman Under the Influence. When debating the Gena Rowlands co-starring, Lucy essentially became Kael herself, echoing the critic's words in nuanced similarities. I've always liked her, grew up with her, and read her writing, and thought she was smarter than me. After Lucy finished reviewing Jake's favorite movie, he fell silent. That complements the idea that Jake can't have everything he wants, explains Kaufman. Number 3. What's up with Tulsey Town ice cream? Eventually, the car ride is interrupted by a stop at Tulsey Town Ice Cream, an invented small-town ice cream chain inexplicably open in the middle of a debilitating snowstorm. On the way over, Jesse and Lucy recall the jingle for the ice cream shop commercials. The pair stop there briefly, and Lucy has a cryptic interaction with 3 women behind the takeout counter. 2 of them are giggling and flirtatious, while a third seems terrified. According to Kaufman, they're all references to women that Jake has seen before. Then there was this idea that there were many generations of high school kids who worked there and he had interacted with over the years and had his problems with, Kaufman said. It's a dreamy stop into his psyche, into his past. Number 4. The animated pig when chatting with Jake at the end of the movie. Actually, that's another pretty straightforward one. In his car, the janitor seems to have an attack of some sort and possibly dies. Like Charles Foster Kane whispering Rosebud from his bed in Citizen Kane movie, the janitor, Jake, sees tidbits from his youth in the windshield, including the animated Tulsey Town ice cream ad referenced earlier. These give way to an animated pig with maggots on its stomach, a grim encounter that Jake recounts to Lucy earlier in the movie while giving her a tour of the farm. The affable animal walks Jake back to his final moment of introspection. Something about the innocence of the pig and its horrific underbelly traumatizes Jake early in life. In his old age, he has come to terms with his fundamental imbalance in his universe. The score of the movie on IMDb, 8.5 out of 10, shows that the film is quite popular with viewers. The IndieWire page asserts that I'm Thinking of Ending Things is one of the rare good movies, but it will certainly make many people uncomfortable with the authenticity of the film. But most agree with the Hollywood Reporter's opinion when evaluating I'm Thinking of Ending Things: genius, daring, unafraid to show darkness, and stand out from the cast with enthusiastic performance. However, from many points of view, this movie is easy to make viewers frustrated. The film is confusing, both enlightening, but also isolated. Watching I'm Thinking of Ending Things is a strangely rare experience. Moving from suffocating air to mourning for a bygone youth, a love with many names, but only one haunting face. An unending movie. It was as if the director was also thinking deeply, I'm thinking of ending things. Although the plot of the film seems a bit confusing, and it takes until the last 30 minutes to add drama, in summary, I'm Thinking of Ending Things is worth watching many times and reflecting on the meaning of life. Thank you for watching our video. To support our channel to make more interesting videos, please like and subscribe to Ask K-Pop Entertainment channel. Bye, and see you in the next videos.